Will there be war? Tension between Ukraine and Russia has been dominating headlines, fueled by media frenzy. But are other players involved? China has also been watching closely. In this special report, we look at the roles cybersecurity and social media are playing, what that means going forward, and what can be done. Is war about to break out? And if so, which countries would get involved? While the focus has been on the West and how the Allies will respond, there's another player also keeping a close eye on the situation: Communist China. But why should China care? For a few reasons.
China could be watching closely to see how Russia successfully operates with hybrid warfare against Ukraine and learn lessons for how it can similarly effectively use hybrid warfare against Taiwan in order to coerce Taiwan to do what China wants, to engage in political talks, to agree to unification. So there are definitely tactics that Russia could demonstrate that China could learn from.
Hybrid warfare is a blending of conventional and unconventional fighting methods, everything from military might to propaganda. The conventional side has been playing out through troop movement, the videos of tanks rolling down the streets, and the map showing how far some of these troops traveled from Russia to Ukraine. But as for the unconventional side, Bonnie Glaser, director of the Asia program at the German Marshall Fund of the United States, explains how that could play out, not just in Ukraine, but also with China's approach to Taiwan.
Putting together these different forms of warfare in a way that can affect the target and the people in a psychological way that can instill a sense of despair and make them feel that they have already lost before force is actually deployed.
It's not a new tactic. It's been happening since 2014. That's when the Russo-Ukrainian war began, following the Russian annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. In December 2015, Russian hackers crippled Ukraine's power grid, resulting in power outages for roughly 230,000 consumers in Ukraine, anywhere from 1 to 6 hours. According to the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Intelligence and Analysis, from September 2021 to January 2022, Russian state media and proxy websites published a greater number of anti-Ukrainian and anti-American narratives on a month-by-month basis than during any preceding period going back to World War II. That's according to a DHS bulletin published Monday and obtained by CBS News. And late last month, the U.S. State Department issued a fact sheet on Russian disinformation on Ukraine. The fact sheet states these activities include the spread of disinformation and propaganda, attempting to paint Ukraine and Ukrainian government officials as the aggressor in the Russia-Ukraine relationship. Such measures are intended to influence Western countries into believing Ukraine's behavior could provoke a global conflict and convince Russian citizens of the need for Russian military action in Ukraine. Now, as to how that could play out, there's been a shift in how we get information. Axios notes that given the current Ukraine-Russia situation, apps like TikTok are playing a big role. The outlet states the world has moved away from a top-down view in which the public learned about major military movements only through big media outlets and governments. Videos of Russian troop buildup in Ukraine showed up on TikTok as early as last spring. That's as the current figures stand around 130,000. Oliver Gale, co-founder and CEO of Panther Protocol, a data privacy and decentralized digital protocol provider, says there are two sides to this type of information. Gale points out that there is an upside to the powers of social media.
We can actually be the ones to report on what takes place, what really happens. So if tanks are rolling through your neighborhood and you have a smartphone and an internet connection, you can say, look, regardless of what the media communicates to me, that happened and here's evidence of it. I think that's hugely empowering.
But there are two sides. While platforms like TikTok can be empowering alternative news sources outside government and media, there's a risk too.
this is a system, and these systems can also be manipulated. And so you can have the same disinformation campaigns spread through a platform like TikTok. And if we go back to the US elections and the allegations that Russia was influencing election outcomes through things like Twitter and skewing social sentiment, these things are real, they're studied. Cambridge Analytica was another example of it. So it is possible to use these platforms and create like a bubble of perception that isn't reality.
But with so much coverage in the news and social media, there have been concerns the public could become desensitized to the idea of war. But whether or not China is watching closely for tips on hybrid warfare, Glaser says there's a second reason Beijing is keeping an eye on the developments.
The alliance of the U.S. and its allies. Are the allies going to stand firm? And we have heard many U.S. allies, including recently the German chancellor who was in Washington, say, we are exactly on the same page.
But it's not just China that's concerned with how the U.S. and its allies respond. It's also a top priority for Taiwan.
If indeed the allies stand firm, if they put together a very effective package of sanctions that would be imposed on Russia in the event of an invasion, then that's something that Taiwan would perhaps it would make Taiwan more confident that that kind of alliance cohesion and effective sanctions could be put in place in the case of a planned Chinese attack on Taiwan, and indeed might even be able to deter such an attack.
One major point of concern is the question of whether China will back Russia militarily. That's it for our show on YouTube. To watch our full episode, please visit our website at www.ntd.com/ChinaInFocus. You can also find out where to watch us live on cable in your city at ntd.com/TV or on NTD's partner platform, Epoch TV. To sign up, please click the link down below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.